Everybody, and happy holidays. I am so excited to bring to you another edition of WOAMTEC Live. We've got many amazing things that we're going to be talking about today, but first I want to say that I hope each and every one of you had an incredible and happy Thanksgiving. I am so grateful for our members, for our directors, our ambassadors, our strategic partners across the USA, and just everything that God has blessed us with, both as an organization and both as me personally. Today we are being blessed with three stellar, amazing, fantastic women that are going to share from their hearts, share from their mind, and share from their soul with you different things that have changed their lives, people that have made their lives better, and strategies that have helped them achieve success. So I'm so glad that you're tuning in with us today. But before I do that, I want to take a moment and I want to give you an update. Many of you know that we have an organization called the WOAMTEC Foundation. It's our nonprofit organization that supports and encourages other people with the courage to dream. It helps children who have been abused, neglected, and abandoned through no fault of their own just gain the insightfulness, the empowerment, the courage to believe in themselves enough to make their dreams come true. And last week we had the wonderful pleasure of meeting at the Altamont Springs Hilton here in Central Florida and assembling a group of some very dynamic women and a few good men. We held a 4-hour business boot camp, and during that process I can tell you that Cindy Price with Price Financial Services matched every donation that we achieved that day. Because of Cindy Price and wonderful members like Gina Carr and Dee Tui, and we had another one. Tina. Tina with the Altamont Springs chapter donated as well. We had just so many incredible donations. We raised almost $3,000 to support the Courage to Dream Foundation. Now, what does that mean for you? In the new year, in 2013, we will continue this campaign. We will continue doing boot camps across the nation. So if you'd like us to come to your area, call the corporate office today and say, bring me to your town. And these boot camps will not only build your business, strengthen your company, teach you leadership, marketing, and business building skills to take your business to an entirely new level. But in the process of building and strengthening your business, you're going to be making the difference in the life of a child in your community. We're going to eventually take this down into not only the children that have been abused, neglected, or abandoned, but to women who have suffered from domestic violence and anybody else that's out there that just really needs to have the confidence and the courage to believe in themselves and to achieve the things that we know God wants them to achieve. But today we're going to focus not just on those boot camps. We're going to talk about many exciting things that are in store and ready to come. But first, I want to introduce you to an amazing member, a wonderful woman, someone that taught one of our recent breakout sessions here at the Confident Women Conference, the 5th anniversary special, and she received such stellar results, such amazing reports. I knew she had to be on a WOAMTEC Live. So please join me in welcoming DiAnne to the set today. Thank you, DiAnne, so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Like, I had no choice, to be honest with you. No. Seriously. The evaluation results were so amazing and so incredible. You scored by far the highest in ranking with all of our teachers. So I'm so glad to have you here, and I know you're full of tremendous knowledge and talent. So we're going to start and try and convey as much as we can for those that are watching live or the archived versions. But start by telling them a little bit about who you are and what your company does first. And then we're going to talk about all the other fun, amazing things you do.
Sure. Well, of course, I'm DiAnne. I own a Media Resources Enterprise, and it's a PR, marketing, and video production. I do a lot of strategy now. I do marketing strategies for my clients, and I also do video production, different little things that I do in terms of promotional videos, and I do scripting and all that kind of good stuff, fun stuff that I like to do.
Well, let me ask you a real quick question about that, because the promotional videos that you do, I actually just spoke with another member that does something similar to that. Right. From a marketing and branding perspective, how important is it for companies to use videos, maybe not to do like a whole live broadcast like we're doing here today, but to even use videos in social media and Facebook, for their business? So for the average small business, mom and pop that's watching today, why would they need to contact you for video production work?
Well, nowadays a lot of people are visual. And if you have a video on your website, it gives them a little bit of who you are. And it's the best next thing to really personally say, hi, my name is DiAnne. Well, you say in a video, hi, thank you. Welcome to my website. I'm DiAnne, and I do PR marketing. And if you need my services, please give me a call. I would love to meet you. So it's really the next best thing other than meeting face to face.
Okay. What type of clients do you work with? Like, what do you have a tendency of? What's your niche? Who's your marketing demographic? What do you do, or who are you looking for, and what do you do for them?
Right. It's funny because you asked that. I really don't have a demographic per se. I've worked with chiropractors, like I've worked with lawyers, like I've worked right now, one of my recent clients is in the health profession, home care. So really, because what I concentrate on in my marketing is not only is marketing and PR, I concentrate on the brand and the whole picture. So when I meet a client, I actually go through their brand first. I want to make sure that they're marketable. Right. And a lot of people that are in marketing don't do that because I don't know why. Maybe because they feel that they don't want to offend the client, or maybe they just feel like if they're ready to market, let's go. But for me, it's so important to really have all those elements together in order to go and market.
Okay, well,
I want to hear.
Absolutely, and I want to hear a lot about your marketing and branding tips and your communication tips as well. But before we do that, I think these women need to connect with you personally, because I know a lot of mothers that are on the set right now or that are watching live today. You're moms, you're working, multitasking moms, and this woman is not only an amazing businesswoman, a professional speaker, an author, a mother of four beautiful girls that look a lot like you. But she is also Miss Corporate America, so to Mrs. Corporate America.
Right.
So
correct.
Tell us a little bit about that journey. What led you down that path? What has that done for you?
It's very interesting. I never was really interested in pageants at all. I remember when I was like maybe 18 or 19 years old, somebody approached me and they said, do you want to do a pageant? And I'm like, I kind of considered it, but then because I was morally correct or whatever it was, they were telling me I could make the last 10. There was a lot of things going on that I really did not like. And I said, you know what, that's not for me. So the first person approached me, I'm like, oh, this sounds really interesting, but I really didn't think about anything about it. A second person approached me and I'm like, that sounds really, really fun, but really and truly, I don't know if I can do that. I'm a woman, I'm a mom, I'm a professional, and I just don't know if I have time for all that. Then all of a sudden, a third person approached me and I'm like, okay, maybe God is trying to tell me something. I don't know. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe I should do it. Well, this person, it was a friend of mine. She used to do a lot of pageants, and she said, okay, DiAnne, I'm going to tell you that I am going to sponsor you, and you need to do this pageant because this is for professional women and you would represent them so well. And I'm like, laughing it off, sure, but she kept asking me, and it's like, okay, I'm going to send the money. You are going to compete. So I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. The best I can do is, just meet a lot of people, interact with people. Why not? I'm going to do it. Why not? So basically, I did, and it was worthwhile. I met a lot of women from different lines of professions. I met a lawyer, doctors, people from Canada that were competing from all over the nation, and it was wonderful. I really, really was excited.
What did you have to do? Just curious as to what did you have to do in order to make that happen?
That is so funny because when I was approached the first time, I said, well, what do I have to do? Because I know pageants have a different format, or usually have the same format, but slight differences. And she's like, well, you have to do pretty much everything that has to do with a pageant, but you don't have a talent competition and you don't have a swimsuit competition. And I said, oh, okay, well that sounds a lot better, because there's no way I'm going to parade on my bathing suit. That's for sure. I'm not going to do that. I'm a mother. I want to give my daughters a good example, and
right.
At my age, I don't think that would look good. So so that's one of the reasons why I decided to go for it.
What is your talent? Just curious.
I don't have one.
Okay. Yes, you have many.
Sing.
I actually disagree.
Well,
you have many.
Well, professionally, but if you're thinking of if you can sing, if you can, yeah, I'm an average dancer. Definitely cannot sing. I used to do a baton when I was a little girl, but I don't do that now, so I have no idea how to do that. So really and truly, I would have really messed that up.
So now that you're Miss Corporate America, what does that mean for the world? Like, what are you doing with that? And what are some of the things that you have to carry on while you're holding this position? Right.
Well, my platform this year still is actually inspiring women in leadership. And it's a wonderful platform for me because since I have 4 daughters, it really, really gives me a chance to speak to other women and really tell them that, you know, you can do anything. You know, if you want to be a professional, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to own your business, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you can do anything. You can do it. Just you have to set your mind to it and go for it. You know, go ahead and write it down, you know, follow those goals and reach them, you know, and that's what's given me the opportunity to do, is really spread the word. I've been speaking a lot in different venues, a lot of radio interviews, TV interviews. It's been really fun.
That's awesome.
Actually.
Well, you know, and that makes you a queen at knowing how to brand and market your business, which is really cool with what you do, but also what you're doing to help other people. And I know you're a role model for your daughters. I think that that's awesome, and they definitely look up to you. But you're also a role model for many women. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to take a moment and have you talk a little bit about when you speak, and your book. You've written a book. I don't want to hear more about that, but give me an idea as to what would you say are the major components of building your brand? Like, for all of the businesses that are watching, you know, so many times we take on a position and we say, okay, I'm good at photography, I'm good at, you know, whatever it may be, accounting, and you take on this role and you say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. But they forget that they're a salesperson too, and they're a marketing person too, even if they're in accounting, even if they repair computers or build websites. So what are the major components of building your brand? Right.
The major components of building a brand is definitely the first thing you need to take in consideration is look for a logo, or if you're going to build an individual brand, have a professional picture. That's one of the first things, other than the name, of course. You have to pick a name. The second thing would be a website, because we are in a digital world, and without a website, really and truly, we're not legitimate, really. And then the third, and people don't think about this too much, is a biography, because that will be on every single marketing material that you will have. You know, either a company biography or individual biography. Those 3 things are very important. Those are the 3 things actually you should do, the first thing you should do before you open a business or you start marketing.
Absolutely. I think that that's really important. And if you heard those major components, make sure you jot them down, because somebody will be winning something momentarily if you paid attention to that last segment. I think that that's really important, is knowing how you're representing yourself. You know, I can tell you that just recently, as a matter of fact, you were one of the award nominees for the Leadership Award that we're giving away tomorrow night at our holiday cheer party. So congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for whoever nominated me.
It was a stellar nomination, and we had hundreds of nominations submitted. Our team narrowed it down to the top 20 most qualified, and I can tell you one of the things that we looked for was, did they have a bio on their website to validate, or on LinkedIn, to validate what the nomination said. You know, it was really important that we needed someone to submit a nomination saying, hey, this person is changing the community, making a difference, helping other people, and really being impactful, at least here in Central Florida. And then, does your website back it up? Does it communicate who you are? And congratulations. So you were narrowed down to one of the top 20. We will be giving away 3 awards tomorrow night at the holiday cheer party. The party's from 6 to 9, but you know, I hired a sitter to stay till 11, so just come on out. If you haven't registered yet, make sure you do so right away, because it's going to be a great time, and who knows, you may be looking at one of our top 3 finalists, which is exciting.
Well, there's a lot of competition here.
There is.
There's a lot of wonderful professional women. I saw the list today, and I was very impressed. I was like, wow, this woman is great, and that woman is great. So
that's awesome.
Whoever wins it is going to be great.
And you know,
good representation.
And you're right. It's healthy competition, and everybody that was nominated, you know, had to do something to change someone else's life, and that's truly what it's about. You know, I want to go back to tying in what you said with your role with Miss Corporate America, the public speaking you do, the marketing and branding, because I think a lot of what you're doing to promote your business is the same thing that everybody should be doing. So just because you're in that kind of career doesn't mean that people shouldn't watch you and kind of mimic what you're doing. The fact that you took an opportunity, like being Miss Corporate America, and you created radio interviews and television shows, that's all marketing your company. Right. Because the minute somebody Googles you, it's your company that's going to come up, which is brilliant. Exactly. So, you know, thank goodness you didn't have to wear a bathing suit to do it. But that's brilliant. So talk to me about how you have used the media to communicate more effectively, and then if you have any social media tips that you'd like to share with us today. You're also really good at social media, so I'd like them to learn from you with that as well.
Okay, well, with the first question, basically, yes, I thought about it before actually I even joined Mrs. Corporate America's pageant. I decided, I always think, is this going to be good for my brand? You know, when I go out there, always. Is this going to be, because I've been asked to do many things, but have I said yes to all of them? No. You really need to be picky about what you do and where you go, because everything that you do, from how you dress, the matter of speaking, how you communicate with people, what you're writing on your emails represents you, it represents your company, and it certainly represents your brand. So, so when I was asked about Mrs. Corporate America, the first question that I had was, well, can I promote my business? Absolutely. I said, well, you know, that's a plus. So that's why I ended up competing also. And yes, I have had plenty of opportunities. I'm so grateful because I am allowed to market myself, market my business, market my book in every single interview I go into.
That's awesome.
It's wonderful. I really enjoy it. And I've been asked back a couple of times, and in a lot of speaking engagements I've been asked back, but you know, not because I'm Mrs. Corporate America. A lot of times it's because they want DiAnne Ray. And it's because of the way that I think I set it up. I'm DiAnne Ray first. And media resources second, and then you know what, I'm Mrs. Corporate America, and that's an addition to my brand.
I think
and that's the reason why a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people in pageantry, they join a pageant and they want that title. They acquire that title, but then they don't market themselves. They don't market their business. So you know what, when that title is over, that year is over, you already reigned for a year, then who are you?
That makes complete sense, and that's so important. And you know what? I bet you probably touched base on that a little bit in the book that you've referenced more than once. So
in terms of branding, yes.
Yeah, tell us about this book.
Yes. Well, this book, you know, it took me about 1.5 years to 2 years to really write and research and really write an outline and see what I was going to communicate, because I really my goal for this book was really to help businesses really promote themselves, market themselves, make sure that everything that they do surrounds around their business and around themselves, if they're doing individual branding, so they can be successful. And I really love, I mean, I enjoy doing it, and that's what I speak about plenty of times. I speak about branding, and I speak about marketing, and I speak about social media, because you know what, that's what's selling right now. You know, I also speak about video marketing in this book, and I love it. I think that, I mean, a lot of people that have bought it have actually wrote to me on Facebook, or, you know, thank you so much. I didn't think of it. And you know, it's simple. It's a simple book. It's not complicated. It has worksheets in them. So, you know, you just have to go through them, and you'll be there. And some of the things you'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. You know, I should have thought of that. That's simple enough. You know, but because you're not in that, you know, marketing state of mind, or in that branding state of mind, you don't think about a lot of things. It's not hard. It's just a matter of putting your head together and putting it all together from A to Z.
Absolutely. You know, it's the little things that do make the big difference in a bigger picture and in business. So I think that's important. Now, let's talk just briefly, because we've got to start to wrap it up, but I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. I didn't warn you that I was going to do this, but sometimes the best things are left, you know, not said beforehand. Okay, I want to know the biggest branding faux pas that you see people consistently making. What does it relate to?
Well, yeah, you did put me on the spot. Thank you.
How you get the best answers.
A lot of people, you know, a lot of people in terms of branding are not thinking about the bigger picture, I think, and that's a mistake. They just think in pieces. And when you think about it, now everybody looks at you everywhere. Let's say somebody's researching you on Google. They're not only gonna go to your Facebook. They're not only going to your website. They're going to go through every single social media outlet there is to go ahead and see who you are. Right. And a lot of times people commit the mistake of writing something different in every single piece of, you know, social media outlet. They'll have one buy on one, they'll have something else on the other. It's not consistent. So I really feel that people should be consistent throughout. So when they research you, they know who you are and they're not confused.
I think that that's really important. And I can tell you, after being married to a photographer for years and working with Jeff's, doing marketing for Jeff's business,
Right.
often he would do that like with marketing pieces. So it's not just in how you're communicating,
Exactly.
but it's the pieces that you're building. If you're planning a flyer that's geared towards the holidays, and you start just using holiday pictures because you're excited about a holiday party, that may not match your brand. And so it's got to be, how do you keep your brand and get excited about the holiday and incorporate the two together, which is really
and
important.
Jeff does a great job. As a matter of fact, he actually did the photo on the cover of my book, and which is wonderful. And I'm really excited. I thank him so much. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have a photo for the cover. So yeah, I really liked it. So yeah, he does a very great job in terms of the marketing pieces for WOAMTEC. I've seen them, and definitely it's always consistent with the brand. So
well, that's awesome.
Yes, you guys
well, thank you, honey. You do a great job. Shout out to Jeff. Woohoo! I do want to mention that she is giving away a copy of her book to someone that listened to the components. So someone that posts on the WOAMTEC group Facebook page or posts now on the live chat, the first person to do either or, that will tell us naming one of the components of branding that DiAnne mentioned already. So if you go ahead and post that, then you could too be the winner of this fabulous book. DiAnne, tell us though, if they don't win this book, how can they order this book?
Yes, actually they can go on my website, DiAnne.com, DIANNE, DIRE.com, or they can go on my media resources website, mediaresourcesenterprise.com, and they can order it there. Online.
Okay, and you can also go to WOAMTEC.com, go to the WOAMTEC directory,
Yes.
type in DiAnne, type in D and I, and hit enter in the keywords, and it will come up to make it easier for you if you want, and link directly to her website, which is really cool. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Before we break out, one final question.
Okay.
If you had any advice, I want you to look down this camera, and if you had any specific advice that you would want to leave a member with today, and any call to action that you would like for them to implement, what would it be?
Yes, definitely. Well, we're coming up to a new year, 2013, as we know, and I really urge everybody to look at their brand. If they have to rebrand, this is the time, November, start looking at that, or actually we're in December now, so start looking at that right at this moment. Do not change your brand too much if you're really well-known, a well-known company, or a lot of people know you. But there's nothing wrong with renewing, rebranding, and making it fresh. Make sure that your website is intact. Make sure that your biography is in all consistency levels in every single social media outlet. And also be sure that you know who you are and what you do when you go out there.
That is awesome. Well, thank you again for
Thank
sharing.
You.
And
thank you so much, Kathleen.
It's my pleasure. We're going to see lots more of you to come, I believe. So, again, thank you all so much for being here live, and I hope that you have some takeaways from DiAnne and what she shared, because she is just a dynamic woman, and I hope that you take the time to get to know her via the WOAMTEC group Facebook page, because I have a feeling maybe if you want to learn more, she might just be interested in coming out and visiting a chapter near you, wherever you might be. So reach out to her and see what it would take to make that happen. Now, before we end today, we have two more stellar, amazing women that we've got to hear from. One is visiting us all the way from Maryland, so I can't wait to meet this magnificent woman again. Some of you may have met her at the October, I believe it was in October, maybe a year ago, April. It seems like it's been a while. Time flies, KiKi. Confident Women Conference, as she lit up the stage and just blew everybody away with her just dynamic story and wonderful personality. So, KiKi, if you're there right now, if you can tell everybody who you are and what is it that you do for a living. Welcome.
Hey, Kathleen. Thank you so much for having me. I am coming all the way from Maryland, and I'm really super excited to be with you today. I am a life coach. I'm a motivational speaker, and I really am so truly passionate about helping women get courageous and overcome their challenges and obstacles in life. It's all about overcoming challenges. It's all about overcoming obstacles. It's all about really overcoming that fear that we have so much, that we let hinder us so many times in our lives. And I'm on a mission to help women really overcome that and get courageous.
I think that that's awesome, KiKi, and that's why I've asked you to be here today, because you are, like I said, an amazing woman that's overcome a lot of obstacles in your life. A lot of times I find that people are faced with challenges or obstacles and they get so stuck in that fear, they stand still instead of moving forward. What are some of the things that you've experienced in your past, and how have you overcome them to overcome that fear and keep moving forward?
You know, I started off in a very fearful situation when I was 10 years old. And I would have thought that that would have knocked me down, but I didn't allow it to. When I was 10, I found out that my mom was addicted to drugs. And I grew up with her, and I grew up sleeping on a couch in a crack house for many years. And I decided that one day I wanted to make a huge decision not to allow this to continue in my life as I got older. At the time, I couldn't do anything about it, but I promised myself when I got older, I was going to do something about it. And so I think that that promise has really served me right all of these years. And that's one of the things I talk about when it comes to overcoming fear and obstacles in our lives, even to this day, in terms of women and men in business, because we have to first make a decision that we're going to overcome these challenges. A lot of times we have a lot of pity parties and woe me and why was it me and those kind of things, but those are not going to serve you well when you meet some of the difficult challenges that we all face. And the truth is, we all do face those challenges. And so, one thing is you have to truly make a decision that you're going to do what it takes to overcome whatever comes your way in life, period. You have to make that decision.
I think that's awesome, KiKi. And you know what? You're right. It's like put on your lipstick, put on those big girl panties, and just keep moving forward. You know, nothing's going to stop you with the right attitude. And it doesn't mean that you have to have a mother or a situation where your mother was addicted to drugs. It could be something different. It could be something maybe that other people might look at as smaller, but it could be a huge thing that could be stopping you from becoming the woman that God intends you to become. And that's really important. So what are some of the tips or suggestions that you would have or that you would give a member that says, you know what, my life's okay, I'm doing well, my kids are fine, but I just feel like I'm supposed to do more, be more, achieve more, like there's a lion roaring inside you and you're too afraid to let it come out. What advice or suggestion or tips would you give those members?
Absolutely. I'm glad. That's a really, really good question because I feel that a lot of times, especially women, we play a way too small. And it's all about stepping outside of your comfort zones. You know, I grew up knowing that I wanted to do so much more. And even as I started in my business, in my career, I just knew that there was just so much more for me out there. I knew that God had a bigger plan, a bigger purpose in my life. And when you feel that way, and I know that a lot of us do feel that way, you've got to set your sight on what that is for you. You have to go about discovering what that is for you, which means sometimes you're going to have to try some new things, which in turn means you got to step outside of your box. A lot of times we have this, literally this little box that we hold ourselves to, and we can't step outside of that box because we are scared. We're fearful. Well, what I say is that we have to just feel the fear and we have to walk through it anyway. You feel it, you acknowledge it. Yes, I'm scared. I know that. I want to do something more, but I'm not exactly sure what that is. You have to feel that fear and say, I don't care. I'm going to walk through it anyway. So that means you're going to have to get out there and you're going to have to do some research. You're going to have to try some things that you've not tried before. I know if you ask some of my friends, I've tried a lot of different things in my life before I even got to this point as to where I'm a speaker, I'm a coach. I've tried so many different things. I've been in real estate, I've been in mortgages, all those things. But that was me going through a process of self-discovery, trying to figure out what it is that is out there for me that's bigger than myself that I can't see. So we have to really try to think that way and also self-discover.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that is so important, KiKi. I have a question. Are you a believer in using vision boards or goal posters or anything like that? I'm just curious because it is about like identifying what you want and then seeing it every day so you can stay focused and you can make that happen. But also going through the discovery process of how to get there and how to make that happen. So do you use vision boards?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I have my vision board right above my desk. And I look at it every day. It has different pictures on it in terms of some of the things that I want, some of the goals that I want to accomplish. It also has my 2012 goals, which are now going to turn to 2013 goals. It has my mission statement. So it has a lot of different quotes and sayings on it. So for me, when I get up and I sit at that desk every morning, I am able to be really, really focused because I know what's ahead of me. I know my goals. I know the things that I want to accomplish, and I know the things that I want to get done. So I love those. And I think that you need to update those every year, and so that we can refresh our dreams, because I think that dreams come, dreams go, but you got to have something that can show you how to actually get there and manifest those things.
Wow, you're amazing. I bet you also have a mantra that's part of your vision every day that you focus on, and I think that that's great. So now would be an ideal time to focus on doing a vision board or a goal poster, and it is something that seems so trivial with so many people, but it is such a vital part of achieving success. If you don't know where you're going, there's no humanly possible way to get there. So KiKi, thank you for sharing that. Now, tell us a little bit about your company and what it is that you do for other women, and how we might be able to help you reach your goals, or how you might be able to help other people reach their goals through what you do.
Absolutely. My company is KiKi Ramsey International, and I, first and foremost, am a speaker and I'm a life coach. What I really love to do is I just love to pour into the lives of women. I coach women individually every single day through different challenges and obstacles. Women come to me for all sorts of issues and all sorts of problems between relationships, their careers, children, what have you. I pretty much coach women through everything. And a lot of it is really helping women become visionary in their own lives and develop their purpose and passions so that they can go out there and share them with the world. I also host several different events myself. One coming up is called Get Courageous. And it's really me in a room full of women, really igniting that courage, showing women how to truly unleash that courage. Because the truth is, courage is inside of us. We all have it. A lot of times it's hidden deep inside of us. But my goal is to help you bring out that courage. And so that's what my events are all about. But I love just having a conversation with women when I'm coaching them, allowing that light bulb to come on in their heads to say, oh, I understand why I do that. Now I have the tools that I need to go forward so that I don't have to be fearful anymore in my life or even in my business.
Oh, KiKi, you're such a blessing, and I'm so glad that we've had a chance to talk today. And I know that we're going to continue to do some amazing things with you. Before we end, I do want to take a moment and I want you to share with women that maybe have to go through that self-discovery process some of the steps that they may have to take to discover who God intends them to be. What would you suggest?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times as women, we're so busy. I mean, we're busy all the time. From the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, we're really, really busy. And I think that we do not take enough time for ourselves. And so, one thing that I suggest for women in terms of this whole self discovery process is number one, get in a place that's quiet for you and really start to think about your own story. Start from when you were younger. Start writing out your story from your very first memory until now. And then start to analyze your story and see if you can put some things together. If you acted a certain way when you were younger and you still act that way, if you don't like something when you were younger, if you still don't like it, or if you loved something when you were younger and you still love to do that, that whole process is very healing because you learn a lot about yourself that you didn't necessarily think that you would have known. I know when I sat down and I began to write out my story, I was able to put a lot of things together, and it's really I was able to really learn why I love women and why I want to work with women because all those years I was trying to help my mom overcome her addiction, and so for me that grew into a love, a passion of mine. So you got to think back, and it might not even be when you were young, but still think back over your life and try to put the pieces together I think that's one thing. I also prescribe, as if I was a doctor, for you to go away for a day or for a weekend. I think that that can do wonders. Pamper yourself sometimes. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. Just spend some time with yourself, doing some of the things that you love. And in the midst of that, you may find out a lot about yourself, and you may find out why you were purposed to be here and the things that you were actually purposed to do.
Thank you, KiKi, for sharing that. I think that that's huge. And, you know, I've been saying since last June that I needed to go away for 2 days by myself. So I think you've just given me permission to make that my Christmas present this year, and make that happen. Tanya's excited. I don't know if it's because she thinks she's going with me or because she's getting rid of me, but I'm a little bit scared. No, I think that's awesome. You are an amazing woman, and you can tell, you know, you've got a big attitude. It shows, first of all, anybody that can wear big earrings like that has to have a big attitude. And you are just all full of sass and class and fabulousness. Thank you for keeping Maryland alive. We need to get up there soon, so let's schedule a boot camp together so we can support children who have been abused, neglected, and abandoned through no fault of their own, just like some of the things that you've experienced in Maryland in your own backyard. So God bless you. I am so proud of you, and I wish you only the best in everything that you do.
Thank you, Kathleen, so much. I love you so much.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
You too.
Well, you know what? If you're watching from out of town, you know, we are more than happy and willing to Skype in different people from across the country. So please let us know. We are booking through 2013 upcoming WOAMTEC Live chapters, and these are archivable downloads, and they are also shown on YouTube. So these are ways that you can promote your business if you have something that can be educational, empowering, you know, encouraging to women in your area, to women across the country, to women across the world. So please reach out and connect with me so we can tell your story too, and so you can help make a difference in the lives of others, because, you know, that's what this is all about. This is about how can we empower each other, how can we strengthen the businesses in our community, and how can we lift each other up to strengthen the economy across America and truly make a difference by working together. And I want to help you make that happen. I want to use this as a tool and a vehicle to make a difference, not only in the lives of the people that are members now, but in generations to come, which is so exciting. You know, KiKi mentioned the journey of self-discovery. KiKi mentioned, you know, talking about how she had an obstacle in her life and she turned it into a blessing for others. And I think everybody here does have a story, and everybody does have obstacles that they've overcome. Not everybody has the courage to stand up and use that story, that obstacle, to make a difference in their life, but make a difference in the lives of others. Next, we're going to meet an amazing woman who shared her story with me, and I was so impressed that we've asked her to be here today. Now, she's also going to give us some stress tips for the holidays, because it's coming. But first, I want you to hear a little bit about this spectacular woman who it took a while to go through her self-discovery process, but I know has been brought full circle and is exactly where she needs to be when she needs to be there in her life right now. First, what I'd like to do is if we can take a moment and welcome the fabulous Carmen Perez. And Carmen, if you can tell everybody who you are and just a little bit about what you do, and then we're going to talk about your journey to get to where you're at right now.
Okay, well, I'm a travel planner first and foremost. I'm also a speaker and a writer, and those things have kind of connected me to what I'm doing today, which is working with women, hopefully before they're stricken with invisible illness, to reduce the amounts of stress in their lives so that they can move forward in what I call creating their happiness without abandon. And with abandon and without excuses, because I think that's very important. And one of the things I was very interested in that KiKi said is not everyone is ready to move forward, and that's kind of where I focus. I try to get women who are ready for those next steps. I think that's really important.
Okay. What brought you here?
Well, in 2008, I was diagnosed with a chronic pain autoimmune disease, and I was taking my medication and being a good employee and working 60 to 80 hours a week. And
okay, wait, that's so important. Say that. How many hours were you working a week?
60 to 80 hours a week as a commercial real estate paralegal in a international law firm, closing some of the biggest real estate deals of my life, thinking I was having the time of my life, so I didn't take a time out. So I continued taking my meds, and about 14 months later, I literally was just done. I was on my way home, and I never returned to work again. I was on medications, 11 of them, which kept me kind of zoned out, and I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. almost 4 years later, we found out that the cause of my issues was Lyme disease that went untreated and became very chronic. So once I realized I wasn't dying, I had to create a plan, but I was doing research. There was nothing out there. Everyone talked about the science of the illness, but no one talked about, okay, you're not dying. You need to move on. The last thing you want, and I have 3 children at home, is for them to remember you in bed. You're not dying. You need to move on. How do you achieve that? And that's where I work today, and especially through my travel business. I try to encourage women to be limitless and dream and go out with their families and create special memories that are going to help drive them from their bed back into the starring roles of their life.
That is awesome. That's terrific. Now talk to me a little bit about what's going on statistically that you've discovered with women in business or with moms in general.
Well, I was amazed during my research. You know, I found it, and this is kind of sad. I thought it was very sad anyway. 75% of the women out there are doing more than 50% of the work at home. They still hold a emotional responsibility for the well-being of their home, but they can't take time out because they're working so hard. And you know, with the women's movement, about 60% of the women now are primary or co-primary breadwinners in their families. So not working is no longer an option. So it becomes a difficult thing to balance. And the statistics are showing that only 20% of the women are satisfied with the amount of time they're spending on themselves. 80% feel guilty. They're exhausted, and they don't know what to do, and they don't want to reach out for some reason, and they want to maintain this certain level of living that is being glamorized, the fabulous home, you look good, you feel good, but inside, statistics are showing what we're seeing is not the reality.
Wow, and seeing how I just said I've been wanting to go away for 2 days since June, I would guess most people could figure out I'm part of the 80%. That's pretty funny. I'm just really shocked at that. Now, tell us a little bit about your Gal Pal Bounce Back mission and how you've taken this horrible situation where your health, I can't imagine having 3 children and being bedridden. You know, that must have just been so hard, and the guilt that you would probably feel too on top of that from a health standpoint. But how from that to where you are today, how have you had to learn how to work your body and be in tune with your body, but also what is this mission that you're on, that you've started this ministry to help other people?
Well, through my travel business, I blog and reach out to people who I think are kind of on a similar journey, and I share my struggles and challenges with invisible illness. And people started reaching out for me, and not just women. I mean, I had a few men, but the majority were women, and initially it was maybe one person a month, but it became a weekly thing, and I started scheduling like hour conference calls with these people to kind of help them figure out where they are and share with them the things that I did to kind of combat the same symptoms and things like that. But then I realized it didn't feel like I was doing enough. I needed to get a hold of more people and do a better job of spreading, you know, the information around and, you know, helping gain access to the specialists who can help them work at their symptoms. So that's what the mission is. It's basically, I don't know all the answers, but I'm going to go on and continue doing my research and speaking to specialists and bringing them to you to help you find the answers that you need to live what I call find your happiness, create your happiness. And again, I just think we've kind of taken that responsibility away from ourselves. We rely on outside factors to make us happy. We're no longer taking responsibility to create that. And I want to hand that power back to the women and help them find they do have this power. And ideally, it's through travel, because I do find I became very passionate about travel, and I love the experiences and things I'm introduced to while I'm traveling, and you look around and you see things are not so bad. It's okay. And I think that's so important that people break down those barriers and find a way to reconnect with life again.
Okay, I love that, and I think that is so important. What are some of the outside things that people do, the outside barriers or the things that we do other than taking the time to relax? Like, how do you think women statistically, and I know you're not a doctor, I'm just kind of throwing this out there, but what have you seen statistically that women have a tendency of doing to cope with it when they're not stopping and taking time for themselves?
Well, they continue pushing and driving themselves into the ground. Unfortunately, we're medicating full time. Medications are not being used to deal with the temporary. You'll take a pill and do what I did, continue functioning at full force. You have to realize that these are temporary. You need to make life changes. I hear all the time, we can't do the same things and expect a different result. You know, one of the things I tell women is perfection is an illusion. Stop competing with what your ideal is. It's the ideal you created. I mean, or you were learned, somebody taught it to you, but you need to stop and reevaluate where you are, make sure it's where you want to be, renegotiate your agreements with your spouses, your children, take on different things, and then start saying no. Just start saying yes to yourself. Make yourself the priority you make everyone else in your life. That's the least you could do for yourself.
Absolutely. I want you to look at that camera real quick and say, say exactly what you just said, as close as you can, because they need permission to make themselves a priority.
Well, Carmen is giving you permission to make yourself a priority and treat yourself at least as well as you treat everyone else that you love and have contact with every day.
That's awesome. Well, thank you. Well, tell me about these Gal Pal getaways, and you've got the Bounce Back Journal and the Wanderlust Times. Tell me about all these different things that you have that us women that are out there that are perfectionists, that are juggling too many plates, that are not stopping to take time out for ourselves, that they may be able to read and take advantage of or use as a resource for you.
Absolutely. Well, on my website, I have access to my blog. It's called the Bounce Back Journal, where I write about the things that have helped and inspired me move beyond what I call living with invisible illness. And a lot of people will see I've kind of nicknamed myself as the Wanderlust Woman, LII, which means living with invisible illness. So I share my stories there, and I also share a lot of detail about the destinations I travel to, reviews of hotels and things like that, so that I can help improve someone's travel experiences. And that is the Wanderlust Times. I have an e-zine that I publish weekly on Wednesdays that's released, and you can sign up for that on galpalbouncebackgetaways.com. And I send that out every Wednesday, which basically highlights travel issues like traveling stress-free throughout the holidays, as well as reviews on the most recent destination I've been to and things like that. And on the Bounce Back Journal, which was a blog, starting in January, that's going to become an e-zine, where I'll be sharing inspirational stories of women who are living beyond their invisible illness and doing what I call bouncing back. And finding out what their triggers were to get them out of bed, hopefully inspiring people who read it to take note and move forward with whatever's going on. It will also feature some information on travel and information on, dealing with certain things like body pain. I've never gone to the doctor and received a prescription for a hot bath, but that is something that works very effectively, that sometimes because we're so caught up in our daily drama, we don't think of something as simple as take a hot shower, soak for 20 minutes, light up a candle, and indulge. Give yourself that time.
And permission to indulge. I think that's the bigger thing, because it's not so much about us having time, because we'll watch television or we'll eat too much or whatever we'll indulge in other ways, but it's how can you give yourself permission to indulge in ways that allow your body to relax, which is very important.
That's key, is finding the time to treat your body in a fashion that will allow it to recover from what we put it through on a daily basis. I mean, just think about everything you're doing. You do wear yourself down, quite literally, and without going on vacation and taking those couple days on your own, and without taking a full night's sleep. I mean, a lot of us can't get 6 to 8 hours of sleep, which is what our bodies need to restore themselves. So those things wear on you, and over time, that's when you start to see symptoms like high blood pressure, insomnia, pain, unexplainable pain, confusion, you can't think and focus. These all stem from lack of rest.
Wow. Now tell me, before we get into stress-free traveling, because I know a lot of people are going to be traveling soon, first tell me, how are you feeling now and how are you coping? Have you bounced back fully, or have you just learned how to listen to your body?
I pay close attention to the demands of my body. I feel I'm in recovery. I would say I'm about 80%, and I'm very proud of that. About a year ago, I was at 50% and was very happy with it. I was happy to be back. I wasn't driving yet, but I was starting to function. And about 6 months ago, I was driving, and I've taken up all this. I found what I call my gift of illness, which has been my passion for writing and reaching out. So I just think, it's so important for me especially, and for anyone else who's ever had any sort of physical trauma, is to just listen to your body. I have so many modalities to help me throughout the day. People might think I'm crazy, but it helps me do what I'm doing here with you today.
And this has to be a big step. I mean, you're saying 6 months that you went from not being able to drive to now you're sharing your story with thousands of people across the world. I mean, that's pretty huge. Congratulations.
Thank you. For me, it's exciting. It's things that, 18 months ago I wouldn't have dreamed of doing.
That's wonderful. Now, how important do you think it is for for women to get away with their girlfriend, to travel with their girlfriend, go away for 2 days or 4 days or whatever? How important have you learned is that for women?
I can tell you my personal experiences has always been very positive, which is why I wanted to reach out to women and focus on gal pal bounce back getaways, healing getaways. But my clients have come back. I mean, and the things that I read, they're so touching. And they heal, they bond. I mean, I have friends that live in different states, haven't seen each other for 5 years, and decided to go away together. And when they come back, they just feel so enriched. They're in touch again, and they experience something together. So it bonds them in a way that talking on the phone or having dinner one night, this doesn't work. And what's great about it is you take away the element of them having to care for someone else. So when I say that, I mean, you go away with your husband, he wants to know what to wear to dinner. You go away with your kids, they want to know what you're going to do to entertain them next. So that's one of the things that you don't have to worry about that when you do a girls' getaway. I always take care of all the details. So literally, all my ladies need are their agendas, and they know I get people to pick them up from place to place. So all they have to focus on is healing and enjoying the experience.
I think that's wonderful. Well, speaking of enjoying the experience, it's very hard to enjoy the experience when you're stressed. And traveling, especially with children, can be very stressful because, like you said, you're not just worried about yourself. But one of the things I joke with my husband about all the time is I'll say, what do you want to eat if I'm going out to pick up takeout or something? And he'll be like, I don't know. It's like, that's just one less decision I have to make. I have to make that decision for all of the kids and myself. That's one thing that you could do. And I think that that's important. But so what would you suggest from a stress position and a stressful position? What would you suggest is important when eliminating holiday stress and eliminating holiday travel, and not just for women on the Gal Pal getaways, but for entire families? I mean, there's people that will be traveling in the airport, and that's stressful. And then there's so many different things to take into consideration. So, what would you recommend to make traveling this holiday season as least stressful as possible?
Well, I know traveling this time of year has its own special set of concerns, so I agree with you. And I do have some insider tips that I like to call that will help keep stress from hijacking your getaway, your holiday getaway. You're supposed to be excited. You're visiting everybody, your friends and family across the nation. So this is definitely a time for you to be relaxed. So the one way I know you can do is confirm your trip. And I'm sure people do this, and maybe they do it 2 or 3 days ahead of time. What's very important is because of the rapid pace that our airports and security systems work on, and limited flight availability, you need to check your flights inside of 24 hours before you're scheduled to take off. That's very important. And one of the other things I need you to do so that you're happy while you're traveling is review the security issues and any new requirements or restrictions on the airline website. When you get your itinerary and they're confirming and reminding you to check in, they always will give you a link. So do take the time to look at that, because I'm sure during the holiday season, I've seen it before, the security requirements are changing rapidly, so you need to keep up on that so you're not stressed out when you get there and they say, oh, you can't bring that or you can't take that. You won't be upset about it.
That's a really good point, because just recently I had actually traveled with her whole family, and they went on a cruise. They were all the way in Miami ready to board the cruise ship and realized somebody didn't have their birth certificate or their passport. And it's so true that things change so fast, so often. Regulations are changing. If the threat level changes, then the policies may change. So just because you think you know what it is, to save yourself stress and time and frustration, because it's a lot less stressful when a family of 4 or 5 or 6 or however are stuck in an airport because they missed their flight because they weren't prepared, which is really important. So, okay, what else would you recommend as far as boarding is concerned, or dealing with crowded airplanes? It's like kids on an airplane. I'd rather drive 18 hours.
Well, one of the things I highly recommend is you pack light. Take what you need, check the rest. Now, saying that, do not check your travel documents. Keep those with you. But do check anything that you can. You're traveling with gifts, have them unwrapped if you're going to try to travel with them and take them on board. But ideally, what you'll want to do with any gifts you're going to be traveling with is pack them in a box and check them and meet them at your destination.
Or mail them ahead of time.
Or exactly. I mean, again, ideally. But if you get stuck with them and you're at the airport, it's probably better to try to put them in luggage and check it. Or another thing that you should do is understand that these aircrafts are full. There is not enough space for everyone's luggage on that aircraft. It's just a simple fact. So you need to be prepared. If you do decide to carry it on, you will be checking that luggage at the gate. Now, one good thing I could say is I just traveled last week, and the representatives from the airport and the airlines have been very diligent about enforcing the requirements. So you should know that as well. If you're traveling with a bunch of packages and your purse and your computer bag and your rollerboard, that's all not going on that aircraft.
Right.
They are holding restrictions on that because of the overcrowdedness. And one of the best things I think everyone needs to travel with is the right attitude.
Patience.
Just remember, this is supposed to be a relaxing getaway with your family over the holidays. If something is unplanned happens, one, prepare for it. Take something extra to entertain you if you need it. Ideally, you won't need it, but we should plan. Something may happen. Let me have a magazine if I'm sitting on the tarmac for an hour. Let me not get upset about it. So if you are getting upset about something, take a few deep breaths, relax, find a comfy place to just sit down and take a time out and just try to remember in the end what you're trying to achieve. And for anyone else out there who needs a few more tips, I have 26 pages of them available on my website along with some checklists. If you'd like to sign up for that, you'll get it automatically through email at bouncebackmission.com. I have a link to that.
So bouncebackmission.com, and they can download a free e-report of 26 pages worth of information to travel without stress. When you were talking, it reminded me of a blog that I wrote that is actually on WOAMTEC.com, and it was about patience. And I was traveling once, and I was in this line, and people were like bottlenecking through security, and it was backing up, and people were like literally fighting to get past each other, that I kind of just stood back because I'm not going to fight to get past you, especially to get through the line to wait for 2 hours, you know what I mean, for my plane. And I kind of backed up, and the one person shockingly said thank you, and then somebody else sarcastically said, if you're going to stand there and let everybody pass you by, you'll never get through. And like, he was just mad that I was being patient. And so traveling with the right attitude, I think that is so important, because all too often we get so stressed and so mad at the people around us or the circumstances, which I'd rather wait on the tarmac for an hour than get in a plane and have it go down because of engine failure or bad weather or whatever it may be. So your safety is the most important thing, because you might not make it where you're going the holiday season. So thank you so very much for sharing from your heart. You did a wonderful job. I can tell you are a travel agent with a passion, and that's the passion of, travel isn't just about let me sell you a cruise or let me sell you a trip or book your airline. She's got a passion to change your life and to make it better and to make it different. And for that, I want to say thank you very, very, very much, because I hope that everybody, my wish for you in 2013 is I hope that everybody that is watching today really takes a moment to say, you know what, I matter, and I'm going to make myself important, and I'm going to take time out for myself, because when mom's not happy, nobody's happy. And when you're not thriving, your children aren't thriving. And I think that that's something that Carmen learned firsthand and was forced to throw yourself back. And when you keep moving forward, like she mentioned, eventually your body will stop. And when your body stops, you don't do any good for anybody in any way. So thank you so much. I wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, a happy holiday. I look forward to tuning in with you the first Wednesday in January 2013. I once again am so grateful and thankful for you. God bless.